Doctor, one of the things you talk and write about is the connection between fluoride and cancer. Can you talk about that a little bit and how those two might be linked?
They are linked. Fluoride is a powerful carcinogen, and what we have are acquiescent regulatory bodies that are turning a blind eye to the plethora of research showing that fluoride, it causes a sister chromatid exchange. Is that when this cell goes to divide, the end of this ends up on that side. You know, it's, wait a minute, that's not right. That's a broken chromosome. It causes that. It causes all sorts of changes that look to any scientist like a precancerous changes. And when you take rats and you put them in a cage and you make them drink water with fluoride in it, they end up with cancer of the little lip where it touches the spigot, and the tongue where the stuff went by, throat where it went down, and the liver where it's metabolized, and the bone where it accumulates. Lip, tongue, throat, liver, and bone. And that's the National Toxicological Program study of 1990. Actually, it's done in '89. And by 1990, the United States Public Health Service, the very people Congress did not trust to do the study, took the study and changed every single cancer. Boy, if I ever end up in a hospital, I want them to work on my records, because they made those rats look so healthy you'd thought they were Olympic rats. And they got all done, and they had downgraded every single cancer those rats got 2 levels. The liver cancer became a benign tumor. The tongue and throat, those are just dysplasias. No, don't worry about that. Bone cancer, well, the biggest one, they say, oh, this is so big it would have killed the rat. We got to throw that one out. That couldn't possibly be that big a cancer. It's so big it would have killed the rat. So all of that, it came out as equivocal, and they said, see, it's only equivocal evidence. Well, I don't want something in my mouth that's got equivocal evidence of carcinogenicity. But Bill Marcus, senior toxicologist, Office of Drinking Water, wrote a memo to his boss and said, you know, we need to look at the slides in-house because these changes are not appropriate. And the level of bone in the rats' bones was lower than humans. So these rats were underdosed. They didn't get enough fluoride for us actually to see its impact. And they fired him. He sued him under the whistleblower. And they said, well, he was doing outside work on government time, and we got the time cards to prove it. And the judge says, well, could you bring them to my chambers? They've been shredded, Your Honor, accidentally, of course. So that's called destruction of evidence, obstruction of justice. Every single witness that testified on Dr. Marcus's behalf had been intimidated by their employer at the EPA. That's called witness tampering. And Dr. Marcus won his lawsuit and got damages as well. You read that in the local paper, didn't you? Okay, when the Senior Science Advisory Office of Drinking Water wins a lawsuit, you need to pay attention. One paper in the whole United States covered it. And then he went back to work. Not one single person at the EPA was punished for dismissing Dr. Marcus. They put him back to work at the agency and had him working by himself. And he said, well, I kind of enjoy that because I get to give them the answer that seems appropriate. And they didn't like that, so they began to harass him, and he sued him again. And he won again. So they're lying when they say fluoride doesn't cause cancer. And if you want to talk to Bill Marcus, he will tell you it's a powerful carcinogen. It causes bone cancer more readily than plutonium, which is the only thing he had been able to find. His specialty is bone cancer. And that was the only thing he could find caused bone cancer on a regular basis before somebody showed him that a little pure pharmaceutical grade sodium fluoride does that quite well in rats.
And the reason that's still used, the same as mercury, right? Money.
Well, they don't use the sodium fluoride. They use silica fluoride.
Okay.
And they actually did the study on the wrong element. And we're buying silica fluoride from China and Mexico. And because neither of those countries, and Japan, neither of those countries will allow it in their water supply. So it tells you something there. And we also get it from Florida. Cargill, the largest privately owned corporation in the world, generates that. And Bill Marcus pointed out that one of the reasons that they're able to, with impunity, damage the reputation of scientists and pull people from jobs that they've had tenure and security is because fluoride is an element that's considered a national security risk. So we have a mechanism for putting elements on that list, and this was put on in 1942 because it's the means of extracting uranium to make a bomb. We're not doing that anymore, and there's no mechanism for removing an element from an element of national security importance. So they can pull the national security card and say, well, it can cause cancer, but we don't care. It's important to the defense of our nation. And I'm saying, if this element is destroying the brains of the children, allowing lead to creep into their bloodstream, combined with the mercury causing 16,000 babies a year to die, and that's the canary in the mine. The rest of us miners are still getting it too, because we got MS, ALS, Parkinson's, Lou Gehrig's, you name it. Then it's time for us to address the issue of national security, protecting the children first. Because if you don't protect your children, you'll lose your country. And that's exactly what we're doing in this one. Our government agencies, policies, are destroying the health of our children and the place of our country in the world.